Jan Price talks to the movers and shakers in the film business. The Jan Price Show, all about movies.
You're listening to the Jan Price Show, and today my guest is writer-director Seth Savoy, and we're talking about a brand new movie, Echo Boomers. Welcome to the show, Seth.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I'm really looking forward to talking to you about this movie. I absolutely loved this movie. I loved everything about this movie. And when I thought, this was your first film, right?
This is my directorial debut.
Excellent start. You're going to have a long career in Hollywood because this was so well done. I mean, and I say that
I was kind of nervous about it.
You're nervous about it. Well, I have to just tell you, I don't say that lightly. I watch a lot of movies. I see a lot of independent films. Some are better than others. But this one, I really thought everything about it, the production design, the acting, the way you put this film together, the way you intertwine the stories, it kept me on the edge of my seat. And even though you kind of knew what was going to happen, but it was just so well done. So well done. So and when I found out this was your first movie, I was even more impressed. Well, you're very welcome. You're very, very welcome. I'm going to tell everybody to go look for this movie. We'll talk a little bit about what this movie's about. Well, but one of the things was that you actually presented this, right, at the Sundance Film Festival and won an independent pitch competition. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, the story kind of started in 2013, and I had kind of just graduated from Columbia. And I was leaving school, and I realized that there's no shortage of filmmakers, and and so I kind of found myself not really knowing what to do, and I felt this pressure of as a creative making your first piece, which is always kind of nerve-wracking. And I was kind of in this weird area where I kind of didn't know what to do, and weirdly enough, I kind of felt like I was upset that I had all these student loans and I couldn't pay them off. And then around the same time, I started seeing these headlines in Chicago newspapers about these college kids that were busting into homes. And weirdly enough, I could understand why they were doing it on a personal level. And I just understood it. I understood this angst and this rage that these kids were feeling because I was feeling it too. And so I just kind of took that and ran with it. And we took it to Sundance, and it won that pitch competition. And then it takes a long time to get a movie done, and especially at this level, I wanted it to be an indie film that felt like a studio film, and that's really hard.
You succeeded. And you succeeded. Yeah, I must say that you definitely succeeded in making it not feel like it was some films feel like an indie film, and this one did not. This feels like a major studio film. So you succeeded doing that. Go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I also wanted to make a film that was a really smart film. And, it's interesting because you look at how people interpret your film and it's really kind of great because, a lot of people get it. A lot of people just totally get it. And it's really refreshing to see. And I wanted to make a movie where the characters' motivations 100% thought out, and they are poorly justified, and they are kind of BSing this whole thing. And it's been really great to see that people get that and people kind of get the commentary behind it.
So now let our listeners know what the plot of this film is about, because I'm sure they're very curious after that. So Echo Boomers is about it's about 5 post-college graduates in Chicago who find themselves in debt after they've graduated. So they start taking U-Hauls out to these really nice suburbs of Chicago, and they bust in and they steal as much as they can to try to kind of even out the system. And there's much more to it than that.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting. I was thinking about this. There's the boomers. I mean, I'm a boomer, so there you go. I'm a boomer, but so it's a different. Obviously, it's the generation that the boomers spawned. that are the echo boomers in this film. And I was thinking about it because so many, and I guess the millennials, I guess that's what this is what this generation is called, the millennials, that, that they've been through a lot in their short life already, with 9/11. And then you had the economic turndown, which was the greatest recession that we've had since the Depression in the mid 2000s. Right. And then now we have this incredible pandemic that's affecting everyone all over the world, and then affecting people economically and then socially and all kinds of things. So this film even is more timely in a way because of that. And you can feel why so many young people feel the angst and feel hopeless in a way, I would think, because when you look at it, especially now, I mean, really like now, I mean, I think a lot of people feel hopeless no matter what generation you are from during this past year, and what looks like we're going to have at least another year of more of the same, and just sort of mentally preparing. But suicide rates are up. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. What's really interesting about it, too, is just the timeline in which this movie got made. We were originally, we kind of had a completely different cast in 2017. And it just didn't work. It just didn't work scheduling-wise. We just kind of didn't have the finances put together yet. And I just remember thinking at that time, like, if this movie doesn't happen now in 2017, I'm never going to be able to make it. It's never going to be as relevant. Kind of running along those lines. And then now looking at it today, it's just kind of unbelievable, the stroke of luck that I've had with how relevant this film is today. And it's kind of sad that Gen Z is starting to feel these troubles that we're talking about in this movie. And it's funny because everyone I've talked to, that generation specifically, is taking to this movie, which I find really interesting.
Yeah, and you're sometimes when things don't happen in the timing we would like them to happen, sometimes that's a stroke of luck, and obviously that was in this case. I just talked to somebody else recently, that same kind of thing happened, and it was better that it didn't happen when you wanted it to happen, when that director wanted it to happen. So sometimes these things that at the time we're devastated when we get those blows, and then it always turns out for the best if we keep persevering, and obviously you did. Let's talk about the cast, because I thought every one of these performances was just really excellent. And, starting with Patrick Schwarzenegger, which is, we're going to be seeing a lot more of him as the years, through the years, we definitely will. But you have such a great cast, and a lot of these people, I don't know who they are. I haven't seen them in many other things, but they were all wonderful. Certainly Leslie Ann Warren, and Michael Shannon. Yeah, and she is, and she's been, and I hadn't seen her in anything in a long time. It took me a few seconds to go, who is that? And then it's Leslie Ann Warren in that. And Michael Shannon, who always is excellent. So let's talk about this cast. And Alex Pettyfer, is that how you say his name?
That is, yeah. Yeah, it kind of all started with Shannon. Shannon was the one who kind of found it first, and his team was really about it. And we kind of had this great opportunity of they kind of presented it to me in a way of, do you pick the hottest movie stars of the millennial generation today, or do you kind of go this different route? You try to find actors that could potentially be the next Michael Shannons of their generation, and that's kind of the route that we went with. Because I wanted to work with actors that I think are absolutely genius, and not just use someone for their star level. And it really worked out. We took a risk on Patrick, and, Patrick had done Midnight Sun, and he had done Daniel Isn't Real, which are both kind of extreme movies on two different ends. And so, yeah, that happened. And when I met Patrick, there was just something about him. He's just unbelievably smart. And he gets this millennial generation very, very well. It's just almost second nature to him. And I think that from a performance perspective, he really shined. I think he's the one that, he's one of the ones that stands out in this movie as kind of a runaway role for him. And, I think the superhero world is going to sweep him up, and we'll be seeing a lot more of him. But there were some other picks too, Gillis Geary is the guy who plays Jack, his cousin. And Gillis is just absolutely incredible. Just the way he digests information and the way that he processes it is just so unique. And he takes it he's one of those actors that takes it really seriously, which I personally enjoy as a director. And Gillis and I kind of got to this point where we were just communicating just kind of off of looks and hand gestures, and we just kind of understood each other. And he's someone that I don't think there are many other people who could have played this role, especially at this age, and he just knocked it out of the park. And so I think he's the one in this movie that I think was an absolute no-name who I will be shocked if he'll be employed for the next, as far as the eye can see. So
I agree. I think all of them. I mean, but I definitely agree with him, and the way that he the way his performance makes you constantly wondering, is he to be believed or not to be believed? Is he a good guy or isn't he a good guy? And he just plays at that fine edge where you just don't really know about his character.
Telling you the answer. Yeah, your gut's telling you. Your gut's telling you the real thing about it, but his words are saying another thing. So it's like this beautiful contradiction. But I don't think a lot of actors could have played, and he really kind of blew it out of the water.
He really did.
But there were some other, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the chemistry he has with Patrick Schwarzenegger with his character is really, great, because they're in most of the scenes together, the intimate scenes, and the way they played off of each other was really superb.
Fun.
They played very well together. Go ahead. Haley Law.
There's some other actors in there that are great. Yeah, like actresses like Haley. Haley is, she's from Riverdale, and she's phenomenal. You give her the time that she needs with the scene, and she starts to really kind of nail those performances down. And she has just like this beautifully complicated look behind her eye that I think really helps the Echo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And Alex. Let's talk about Alex, because he also produced this too. Wasn't he one of the producers on this?
He did. Yeah, this was one of the first movies for his production company. And if you look back at Alex's career, I mean, I Am Number 4, Magic Mike. I mean, those are just two that were multi-million-dollar box office hits. And I feel like Alex is really finding his own in the industry. I feel like I don't think those big studio movies really fit him personally. And I feel like he's really gotten to love this kind of indie world, and he's kind of found his footing in it. And he's one of those actors that is that just when you call action, he just has that factor that just you realize why some people are superstars sometimes, and Alex has that. And, he consistently always kind of pushed me creatively, which I respected. And he's great in the movie. You can tell that he has this complex kind of an emotional range that he can pull from. And
he definitely has star quality, because here's when I'm watching a movie and I don't know, it's, these are not, mainstream actors that are, roll off your tongue that like a Sean Connery or anything like that. But when you're watching a movie with somebody that is new on the scene, I'm always fascinated. I always want to make sure I always believe the movie's not over until the credits are all done. I have to watch all the credits. I always have since I was a little girl. The credits
that's a healthy exercise.
It is, I have to see it all. I have to hear all the music and see everything that's about the movie, because the people that help create that film need to have their credit, and people see their names. Sometimes it's harder to see it than others, but in this particular, I always want to go see who the actor was who played that character, and he was one of those. He was, just like, oh, he's got incredible screen presence, and you know he's going to be going far. And obviously Patrick does, and Gillis, and Haley. I mean, they all do. They really played well together. All of their characters, they were really Sometimes
Jacob Alexander and Oliver Cooper, the two that played Stuart and Chandler. Both of them too. It was interesting because once you find actors of that quality and you bring them in there, like, if I could have had, if a studio was behind this and I could have asked them for 2 more weeks to just kind of explore their characters, they're so good, just from an acting perspective, that you can feel the camaraderie and you can feel all these things that they're layering in there, and it's just kind of mesmerizing.
Yeah, the chemistry between all of because it's all of these characters is what makes the film, obviously. But if you didn't have the right kind of actors in those roles, if one person, strikes the wrong note, because it's like a symphony. You're all playing together, and each of you have your own note that you're playing, or instrument that you're playing with. Let's put it that way, the instruments that you're playing with. And if somebody doesn't play their instrument the right way, it can throw the rest of the symphony off, and in this case, this movie. And they all really, truly were just wonderful together, each one of them. And it wasn't like, obviously there's standouts, but each person, there's enough of them in each of these roles that each one of them is a standout in their own way. And that's, a lot to do with the writing and the directing. Yeah,
definitely. I think they just really understood the material, and that it was awesome. I couldn't have been more happy with it. They really kind of sunk their teeth into it.
Well, they certainly did. They really did. So for you, what was were you actively, again, Michael Shannon, what was it like directing him on your first feature film? He's so well known and such an excellent actor in absolutely everything he's ever been in, and he's been Oscar nominated, and as has Leslie Ann Warren. What was it like directing? Let's talk about Michael first, and then we can talk about Leslie Ann Warren.
Yeah, Mike was someone who it's kind of intimidating when you walk into when you walk on set, and you a lot of the times I was directing these guys that we were at least the same age. So even though that they definitely, I think everyone had more experience than me, it didn't feel as unnatural, just due to our age gap being similar. While with Mike, there's a clear difference in age, and there's a clear difference in experience, and so that was intimidating for sure. But as we started shooting, Mike really does. I know this sounds weird because everyone sees him as this kind of extremely intimidating, always the bad guy type of person, but he really does have this calmness to him that is kind of unexplainable, and that kind of helps me feel comfortable directing them. And, I know exactly what I want as a director. And so, and I think as an actor, he really loved that, to know that, I don't want to try it a million ways. I want to try it this one way, and I want it to be exactly like this. I think he really appreciated that. And so I think that, it was kind of this unspoken thing where I think he really cared about me as a creative, and I did him. And I'm sure we'll work on another one together.
Wow, that's pretty amazing on your first directorial, your debut movie, to have that kind of clarity about exactly what you wanted with this film, and to have an actor of the caliber of Michael Shannon who understood that and knew that was the right way to go, because, as he's worked with so many different directors through his career, he certainly could have said, well, hey kid, what do you know?
He could have. And seriously, there were a ton of moments where, like, I was asking him to do something unnatural or that might have been wrong, but he let me make those mistakes. And he realized that and I think that's what I love about him as a actor, is that he looks at himself as a tool of the director. Mm-hmm. And that's really strong. And I think, through this process, I've learned that that's the kind of actors I want to work with.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So Leslie was really interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, because we we were really looking for someone for this role, and we were kind of going back and forth on a ton of different people. And honestly, at first I didn't quite, and this is going to show my age, but I didn't quite understand who Leslie Ann Warren was from a standpoint of how fantastic of an actress she is. It's just like, I feel like this millennial generation, there's just not many movies that she's been in that, they would call her relevant. But once you start doing your homework on her, she's absolutely phenomenal. Like it's just kind of breathtaking how she performs. And so yeah, we ended up getting her, and it was interesting because she didn't she understood the material, but I don't think she understood the message that it was saying while we were doing it. And kind of throughout shooting, she began to really learn what the message of this movie was and kind of the statements that it was making. And she loved it. And I was just kind of blown away by how kind she was as a person and how easy she was to work with. And that's another great example of an actress who, really trusted me. I could tell I could tell Leslie that the sky is green, and she would believe it for me. And I think that says a lot about her as an actress.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, very much so. Very much so. What was the most difficult part of shooting this film?
Probably just the amount of days that I had. I feel like I'm very blessed to kind of have shot the size of budget that I got to shoot, which was, a little bit bigger than most small indies. But I think I could also make the justification of how much bigger and larger and better my next film can be with a little bit bigger of a budget. And so, just the time restraints of only having, 3 weeks to shoot a movie is just so unnatural. It's so draining. You're working 16-hour days, but you're so involved. It's just...
Now, I saw in the credits, this is one of the reasons I like to watch the credits, you shot this in Salt Lake City, correct?
Yeah, I shot part of it in Salt Lake. I shot 3 weeks in Salt Lake, and then I did 1 week in L.A., 2.5 weeks in Chicago.
Okay, so you did go to Chicago for some of the exteriors. I used to live in Salt Lake, so
yeah.
I was like, my old hometown. So
it was really important to kind of, Salt Lake was so accommodating to us, but it was really important, too, to kind of have that Chicago feel. And, a lot of our investors were from Chicago. Chicago Media Angels is a massive kind of investment group here. And, the Film Commission is always fantastic. And I'm really trying to make Chicago this it's so easy to make a movie here. And I'm just trying to, kind of shed some light on that.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. What are you working on next?
Yeah, so I'm kind of taking quarantine to just kind of take a step back, kind of live in the moment and enjoy this release coming out, because I feel like a lot of people forget to do that. But I've kind of gotten back to writing, and I think what I'm going to do next is I'm being extremely careful. I don't think I'm going to just jump into the first project that offers me something. I want this second project to really say something about me. And I really want to care about it, and I want it to be one of a kind piece, just like Echo. And so I've been working on kind of this completely original franchise that I think the studio is going to love. So we'll see.
Great, wonderful. Well, I look forward to your next film very much so, and I would love to have you back on the show. But meantime, I highly, highly recommend everybody find Echo Boomers. It's out on VOD and digital now.
It's on Amazon, and it's on Amazon and iTunes. You can get it just about anywhere.
Great. And I tell everybody, please go find this movie. Well, thank you. Congratulations on your first film being a hit out of the ballpark right off the bat. And I look forward to watching your career, Seth, very much so.
Thanks, Jan. Yeah, thanks, Jan. Let's definitely do this for the next one. This was fun. I really enjoyed this interview.
Great. I would love to have you back on the show, for sure. You can listen to The Jan Price Show whenever and wherever at thejanpriceshow.com or on the iHeart Podcast Network, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at The Jan Price Show, and you can like us on Facebook, The Jan Price Show. Thank you for listening.
Jan Price talks to the movers and shakers in the film business. The Jan Price Show, all about movies.